Hi, Martha Mikk's back with another project, Japanese Stab Hand-Bound Journal. You're going to need some cardboard, very, very thin cardboard, like shirt cardboard, my mother used to call it. We have 5 sheets for spacers, 2 for covers. That's some beautiful decorative scrapbook paper. I've used 2 different colors, 2 different patterns, and some inside covers. That's just brown paper that I have decorated with gold, and that is plain copy paper. So Mod Podge, brush, you could use Elmer's, you can use a glue stick, that's a bone folder, you can use a tongue depressor or a pencil, that's a little craft knife, you can use scissors also, those are clothespins, that is called an awl, it's a poking tool, ruler, pencil, and that's a needle. You need a long needle with a large eye, some heavy thread, and some wax. Some weights, because we have to let things dry under weight. That is my Mod Podge. I'm going to show you the very sophisticated bookbinder's star pattern for applying glue. The idea is to keep the glue off the other side, because I'm very sloppy with glue, so I try to use that. Now I have my decorative paper there, and I'm going to put my glued board down. You can see how thin that board is. It's very thin. My folding tool, as I said, you can use a tongue depressor or a pencil or just the back of your hand, your fingers. I've covered both of them. I'm going to let them dry under weight for a little while, 15 minutes or so. Grab a cup of tea and come back. Don't drink while you're doing this, because if you're like me, you'll spill it all over everything. Okay, so we're ready now to wrap our package, I like to call it. I like to encourage my paper, my decorative cover paper, to fold before I glue it. So I'm using my folding tool, and now what I'm going to do is cut very closely, but not too close. You see that? Close to the edge at a 45-degree angle. I'm cutting off the excess so that I don't have too much. If you don't have a knife, you can use scissors. Okay, so now what I like to do is glue the long sides down first. I'm doing that to both sides, and I'm just demonstrating that you can put the glue on either the board or the paper. You can use a glue stick or liquid glue, doesn't matter. All works the same. Now, this technique, you take your fingers, your thumbnails, and you crush in the paper there and then fold it over. I'm going to show it to you again. I've done it before. I glued just to encourage it. I like to use that word, encourage. This is my glue. Now I'm going to use my thumbs again. Push in. It may look awkward, but practice it and you'll see the beauty of this technique. Makes a nice corner. I'm going to show it to you again. It's already been pre-folded and pre-creased, and now I'm creasing with my thumbs. Push in, and now fold over. A little bit of pressure with the folding tool. I do that to both of them. Make sure everything looks nice, beautiful. Tap, tap, tap. It just sort of makes the corner nice. Make sure the paper is down where I want it to be. And now I'm going to put it under some weight, and that will allow it to dry flat. I like to put both raw sides or finished sides together. Don't put one on the other, because you could have some residual glue. Okay, now, I don't know if you noticed, but they are curling a little bit. That will be taken care of when we cover the inside there. That's the inside cover and the outside cover. So I've made this brown paper decorative with some paint, and now I'm doing the same thing, my little star, bookbinding star, and I'm going to apply that to the raw cardboard there, cover up all the edges so it looks beautiful. Now, you're going to see some little bubbling, and I'm pushing it down. I'm burnishing. That's called burnishing, rubbing. Helps it stick. What happens is when you apply glue, which has water in it, to paper, it swells, and you get these little blisters, it looks like. But when it dries, they all lay nice and flat. But I like to encourage them to lay flat with a little burnishing, and this is part of the relaxing technique here. This is the other side. All this kind of repetitive motion is very relaxing. At least I find it that way. Now I'm going to show you something here. I made a mistake because I was not careful putting it down. I'm going to show you. I have some raw cardboard there. I hate that. So now I'm going to peel it off, which is not advisable, but I did it so fast that nothing ripped, and everything's going to be beautiful. If you make your cover decorative paper about a half an inch or an inch bigger all around, you'll have a more forgiving situation there where you won't make that mistake that I did. A little weight, and now we're going to deal with our inside pages. I've broken up those 24 copy papers into 4 batches of 6, and I'm going to glue 1 spacer on the front of each batch of 6 pages and 1 on the back. So I have 5 spacers evenly spaced around and inside these pages, and that creates additional thickness so that if you want to add pictures or something, the front of your book will not bulge out. And here are my covers, fresh from being pressed. Now we're going to make our sandwich here. So bottom, text block, top, align them. And I like to look down from the top to make sure that everything is nice and square and I don't see any pages sticking out. I tap along the spine and clamp with my clothespins. And I'm going to sew. This is the final part, the fun, really fun part. I'm going to make a sewing line 3/4 of an inch from the left-hand side of our book, because we are Western oriented in books here. We're going to poke 4 holes. First we mark them. The first bottom hole is going to be 3/4 of an inch from the head. Then I make my 1 3/4 of an inch from the foot. And now I make 2 more holes spaced any way I want in the middle. You could measure and do some math, but I like to do it by eye. It has a little more charming effect if it's not 100% perfect. I want my awl to be straight up and down if possible. I'm wiggling in each of the holes, making my initial pokes, stabs. Later on, or like now, I have to get serious and stand up and put some weight into this. Wiggle, poke, till you go all the way through. Now you can see that. There's my awl coming through, but I need a large hole, so I'm going to have to go in from the back as well. Get that to be almost as thick as about an inch of your awl. See that in the daylight there? You can see it. Now that may not even be big enough. We'll see. You can expand while you're sewing. I'm going to measure at least 3.5 lengths of thread, 3.5 times 7.5 inches, because that's how tall my book is. That's wax. I'm waxing it up. It's already waxed, but I wax it anyway. It strengthens it. It makes it go through the holes easier. Make a nice fat knot any way you can. Now, we're going in through the middle of the spine there. You see what I did? I went in, I opened it up, I went in through the middle. Now I don't want that knot to be in the hole or it will impede the sewing. So lay it alongside there and then close the book up. Now I go back into that hole, pull it around, wrap that thread around the spine of the book, and now I'm going to proceed towards the hole to my right. The rules that you have here are you always go to the next hole, the closest one, in the direction you're moving until you get to the end, to the bottom. And you always wrap the spine around once with the thread. Now here I'm at the end. I'm going to wrap the spine around. I'm going to go in through the top. I came out the top, I go in the top. I come out the bottom, I go in the bottom at the next hole. Oh, it's too narrow. So now I got my awl out and I'm poking those holes bigger. Okay. See what I'm doing? I'm going around the bottom now, around the foot of the book. And pull it up fairly tight. A little tension there. And that's where the wax helps also. Okay, see that? I have a space. Wherever you have a space, you want to sew in that space. There should be 1 thread per space and per spine wrap. Okay? It may look like it's not going to work, but it does if you follow those rules. Always go to the nearest hole until you reach a head or a foot and you turn around. Then you proceed towards the other holes, covering every space and wrapping the spine and the head and the foot. Okay, we are done. Look at that. Now we have to finish. The way we do that is I put the needle under 2 of the 3 threads there, come around, go in and I make a knot doing that. And now I'm going back in the hole, coming out the top, grab my scissors, pull that up real tight, and cut that thread off as close as you can to the book. And there you go. It's done. Now, we have to open this book, so we have to fold it. There's cardboard in there. It's nice and thin. We'd have another technique if we had thicker cardboard, but this works just fine. What I'm doing is I laid my ruler along that 1.5 inches from the left side mark, and I score it, which presses it down, and now I'm able to open that. And you've got to work that back and forth. It's going to be fine. Now, we're making a placket or label so that you can write stuff on there. And I use that paper from the back on there because I chose them. They went well together. Now, this is completely optional, but I have fun with it. I write what the book is going to be. This one's going to be a recipe book. So now I want to cover everything with Mod Podge. Why? Because this book is going to get a lot of use and paper wears out. This is what happens when you apply a glue or something to one side. It bulges, but I'm going to do it on the inside too. And here we have some glue failure, which is easily remedied with a glue stick. You will find this happens to books that you make by hand. The glue doesn't always hold well, but you've got your glue stick, so just keep at it. Now, I've written Real Good Eats. This is going to be my recipe book. Always leave the first page in a book blank, and then you can put your title right here, put your recipe, Martha's Recipe Book, and we have completed our 4-hole bound Japanese style book. Now, this is the simplest form of binding. You see there are other forms there, and they're all really fun. Thank you so much for watching. There are a lot of good videos out there on Japanese stab binding. Please check them out, and check out the Patchogue-Medford Library for more great craft programs. Thank you for watching.